All right, Dragon Lords and ladies, gather around, because the war has finally begun. The official trailer of House of the Dragon Season 3 has finally arrived, and from its very first frame to its last lingering image, it is screaming only one thing: fire and blood. I have watched this trailer more times than I'm willing to admit, and if I have to sum it up in one sentence, Season 2 was a game of chess. Season 3 is the board catching fire. And if you pay close attention, this trailer isn't asking who wins the Iron Throne. It's asking something much worse. What does winning even cost at this point? And that question hangs over every single frame in the trailer. So before we get into the chaos, let's just ground ourselves for a second. Where are both sides actually standing right now? Honestly, it looks like the Blacks are winning. Not emotionally, but strategically. Rhaenyra now commands more dragons, more riders, and a growing network of allies. She has the Valyrian fleet behind her, meaning control of the Narrow Sea. And that alone is a very big deal for trade routes and naval movements. Then the North answered her call. The Vale is leaning in her favor too. But the Greens? They don't even feel like a single side anymore. Though they still hold the biggest prize, King's Landing, and the biggest dragon, Vhagar, they don't seem to be working together. Aegon is unstable and gone. Aemond is doing his own thing. Alicent doesn't even look like she wants this. So the Greens are now 3 separate stories, running in 3 different directions. So yes, the Blacks are stronger, but that also doesn't mean they're safe. It just means when they fall, it will cost them more. Now let's talk about the powerhouse of the Blacks: Daemon and Rhaenyra. Right at the start, we see Rhaenyra flying on Syrax, and at first glance, it looks powerful, like she's finally moving to claim what's hers. People might think she's heading toward King's Landing, or answering that fragile thread of agreement made with Alicent. But the longer you sit with the image, it changes. She's not arriving anywhere. She's circling something that still hasn't fully formed yet. And right as that feeling settles in, we hear Daemon's voice. You now have the power that no man has ever wielded.
You now have the power no man has ever wielded.
That line doesn't sound like admiration. It sounds like pressure. It echoes his earlier words from the first teaser, calling Rhaenyra the Queen of Dragons.
You are the Queen of Dragons.
Reminding her of the absolute force she now commands. And technically, he's right. Rhaenyra now has 7 dragons with riders, a growing army, and strong naval support. And here's what I think is happening. Daemon is pushing Rhaenyra to act, because she's hesitant. She knows the outcomes. She knows how many will die. But Daemon has never been the kind of man who waits. This is the same man who sat on the Iron Throne in the very first episode, who started wars without permission, who has always chased power like it's something owed to him. And now, Rhaenyra has become what he always wanted to be. It's possible he's supporting her, or maybe a part of him envies her. But either way, he knows what Rhaenyra needs now is to get her strength back. So this isn't just a partnership anymore. This is acceleration. Because what started as love has now aligned with ambition. And when those two stop pulling against each other, there's nothing left to slow them down. While one side is evolving into something dangerous, the Greens, on the other hand, are becoming unstable. Aemond in this trailer is almost completely still, calm, focused. We see him on the Iron Throne, settled into it, with the quiet satisfaction on his face, like someone who has already done the math. The show has established that Aemond wants the throne, and now that ambition is no longer hidden. On the other hand, his brother, the not-so-looking like a king anymore Aegon, is running out in the woods, with Larys beside him, and his only purpose in life now is to kill his brother. So this clearly isn't Blacks versus Greens anymore. This is a fracture, brother against brother. And the most frightening part? Larys is right there. We know Larys never stands next to chaos unless it benefits him. So maybe he's the one provoking Aegon to kill his brother. Maybe. And then there's Alicent. She might be the most interesting shift in this entire trailer, because she doesn't look like a player anymore. She just looks tired, done with her life, almost regretful. There's a line in the trailer where she delivers something about how ruling forces you to do things your heart would once reject. And the way she says it doesn't sound like guidance. It sounds like a confession. So here's a thought. What if Alicent doesn't try to fix anything anymore? What if she allows King's Landing to fall because she believes that's the only way the war ends? It is quite possible, because sometimes when you realize you've made a mistake that big, fixing isn't an option. Destruction is. Now, destruction brings us to the moment this entire season might revolve around: the Battle of the Gullet. The showrunner has called it probably the most complex sequence ever produced for television. And from what we see in the trailer, the dark water, the burning ships, fire catching across the sea, it earns that description. But what if the Gullet isn't just a war zone? What if it's a trap designed specifically for dragons? Think about it. Dragons over land? Hard to control, dominant, but over open sea? Exposed and visible. Which means, for the first time, dragons aren't an advantage. They're a risk. In the sky above water, there's nowhere to hide, nowhere to land safely, nowhere to recover. You're either in control or you fall. And if someone has studied dragon warfare long enough, then maybe the goal isn't to defeat the armies anymore. Maybe the goal is extinction, to remove dragons from the equation entirely. Because once the dragons are gone, this war becomes human again, survivable, controllable, predictable. And right in the middle of this chaos, we see Rhaenyra again. Mostly in the trailer, we see her devastated, but there's a scene where she's crying, and that's a skull in front of her. Now everyone's going to say that's Jace. Yeah, could be. There are guesses he might die in the battle. And if it is Jace, then that grief doesn't weaken her, it sharpens her. Because Targaryens don't break from loss, they act. And now, speaking of Targaryen nature, let's talk about the most unsettling moment in the trailer, the birth scene. Who is this Targaryen woman giving birth? The entire internet has decided it's Helaena giving birth to Maelor. But something about this feels off. The setting, the stone, the lighting. It doesn't look like King's Landing to me. It is much older, almost symbolic. So maybe this isn't even a literal birth. Maybe it's a reminder, a vision, a prophecy, that even in the middle of destruction, something is always being created to rule. It could be Helena's vision, or just Daemon hallucinating again. But whatever it is, this has already created a lot of arguments. Now, the trailer shifts and starts to feel bigger than just a family conflict. We're introduced to our new characters. We see Aemond Hightower, who might have an incredible character arc this season. His presence reminds us that even if the Greens are suffering from internal fractures, they are still building something stronger. And then, one of the most powerful shots in the entire trailer. The Winter Wolves, old men, marching from the north. They are not here for glory or survival. They simply chose this because these are men who already know how this ends. And Daemon's little smirk here shows he probably wasn't expecting the Starks to join them in the battle. And that's how the trailer reveals what it's really doing. The whole trailer is not building excitement. It's building inevitability. This was never a story about who wins the Iron Throne. It is about the aftermath. An entire civilization choosing pride over survival. A realm already beginning to tear itself apart. The dragons aren't weapons anymore, they're targets. The alliances aren't stable, they're temporary. And the people we're rooting for, they're not moving toward victory, they're moving toward transformation. Some will rule, some will survive, and some won't be remembered at all. So yeah, the war has begun. And if you're thinking this trailer is about hinting who wins, then you're completely missing the point. Because by the time this war is over, there won't be a side left to root for, only survivors and ghosts. Now, Season 3 drops on June 21st, and I will be here, breaking down every single episode the moment it lands. If you want to go deeper into every twist, every dragon, every hidden detail as the season unfolds, hit subscribe so you don't miss a single one. This is PlotCorn, and there is always more to the story.